Thank you and good afternoon. This is Sam Vaughn for Sam's Sports Report. One day I did a Santa Claus hat, but today I'm just saying. Just saying for Christmas. Just saying. I know there's people that are fortunate. I know there are people that are fortunate to spend Christmas with their family, but for everyone, Christmas is not what it hopes to be. It's not the greatest holiday in the world for everyone. Not everyone gets presents, and everyone spends time with family. It's not the holly jolly Christmas for everyone. They may struggle with money. They may struggle with so much that they can't make it. They may have no money to see their family. I know we talk about gratitude and thankfulness of grief. Loss of grief, of absence of loved one can sharpen the traditionless loneliness and being single, living family, or feeling disconnected or harder when everyone else seems together. Family stress can open conflicts, boundaries, and financial and increase high expectation. The pressure changes in routine, changes less daylight, and disturbs others where it's cold. Anxiety, depression, PTSD, or any other condition that time of year can even affect it more. The other reason I think it is because I think they're look for something there used to be. I also think it's because people act like you must be happy, you must do this, you must give presents, you must so many things you must do on Christmas, when actually there is no day that you must feel good, that you must feel this way. Have your own good holidays, and maybe make your own holidays.
So, the holiday season, it rolls in with this huge burst of lights and music and this, massive expectation of joy. But for a lot of people, it also brings this kind of silent chaos, this strange weight in your chest that's just so hard to explain. If you've ever felt that, you're in the right place. We're going to break down the psychology behind it.
It really boils down to this one question, a question that so many of us are afraid to even ask ourselves, let alone say out loud. Why do I feel sad when this is supposed to be the happiest time of the year? If that sounds familiar, trust me, you are so far from alone.
And this quote it hits the nail on the head, right? The whole world outside is shouting this message of nonstop celebration, but for so many, what's happening on the inside is a completely different story. And that disconnect, man, it can feel incredibly isolating.
And that right there, that's what we can call the holiday paradox. It's this really confusing experience where the time of year that's supposed to be the most wonderful actually ends up feeling the heaviest. So, let's unpack why that happens.
Okay, so the first piece of this puzzle is all the immense pressure coming from the outside world. This is all about that huge gaping chasm between what we're told the holidays should be and what they actually feel like for us. And what's at the heart of all that pressure? It's this idea, this illusion of the perfect Christmas. It's a fantasy sold to us in every movie, every ad, every perfect-looking social media post. It's this flawless, magical day that sets a completely impossible standard for our real lives.
And when you put them side by side like this, the contrast is, wow, it's pretty stark. The myth on the left is what we see everywhere. But the reality for so many of us, on the right, well, it's filled with all this internal noise and family gatherings that can feel like walking through an emotional minefield. It just goes to show, trying to live up to that myth is basically a recipe for feeling awful.
And you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? These triggers are so specific. It's the stress about money, those nosy questions from relatives, the little passive-aggressive jokes that sting, and maybe worst of all, that constant draining pressure to just perform happiness, to slap on a smile even when you're running on empty. Suddenly, a family dinner feels more like a test of endurance. So with all that stuff happening on the outside, it's only natural that something starts brewing on the inside. This brings us to the noise from the inside, how our own minds take in all that external stress and, a lot of the time, crank up the volume. And a big part of that internal noise is loneliness. But here's the thing about holiday loneliness. It's not just about being physically by yourself. It's this deeper feeling of being out of place,
of looking around and seeing everyone else connecting and celebrating and feeling like you're on the outside looking in. You know, the holidays can also feel like this big stage where our brain decides to replay all of our greatest hits of loss and grief. People we've lost, relationships that ended, even versions of ourselves that don't exist anymore. Grief doesn't care about the calendar, and something as simple as a song or a smell can just pull you right back into those painful memories. And as the year winds down, our brain, it turns into this brutal internal auditor, doesn't it? It starts reviewing every goal you didn't quite reach, it magnifies every little mistake until it feels huge, and it puts every regret on a constant loop. And where does this cruel audit always end up? With the same verdict: not good enough. And that is just mentally exhausting. Now, all of that judgment, all that internal noise, it doesn't just stay in your head. Oh no. There is a very real physical connection here. Our bodies and minds are not separate things, and our bodies absolutely respond to all this holiday chaos. I mean, just think about it for a second. Your routines, they're completely thrown out the window during the holidays, right? You're sleeping less, you're eating all kinds of different food, and your schedule is a mess. That lack of physical stability leads directly to emotional instability. You feel more tired, more irritable, more anxious. And on top of all that, we have to talk about a very real biological piece of the puzzle: seasonal affective disorder, or SAD. This is a legitimate type of depression that's linked to the seasons changing. The days get shorter, we get less sunlight, and that actually messes with our brain chemistry, with things like serotonin and melatonin. So that heavy feeling, it isn't just you being dramatic, it's biology. Listen, your body is smart. It sends you these little warning signs, often way before your conscious mind catches on. Things like getting irritated for no reason, feeling completely drained of energy, or just wanting to be alone all the time, crying easily, or noticing your thoughts are getting heavier and you're constantly comparing yourself to others. These are all signals that the season is taking a real toll. And all of this can lead you straight into what I call the happiness trap. It's this vicious cycle. You feel sad, so you force a smile. But it feels fake, which makes you start blaming yourself for not feeling the way you think you're supposed to feel. And that self-criticism, it just makes you feel even sadder. It's a brutal loop that is so hard to escape. Okay, so that's a lot of heavy stuff. The big question is, what do we do about it? Well, this brings us to the final and honestly the most important part of this whole thing: finding a path to clarity. And it's all about making a shift away from beating yourself up and towards genuine self-awareness. The very first thing you need to hear right now, amidst all of this pressure and pain, is this one simple truth: you are not broken. That's what this feeling is. It isn't a sign that you failed or that something is wrong with you. It's a completely natural reaction to being utterly and totally overwhelmed. Feeling this way doesn't define you. It's just a part of you asking for a break. We're always told that being strong means just smiling and pushing through no matter what, right? Put on a brave face. But what if that's not what strength is at all? Because here it is. This is the real takeaway. True strength, it's found in the courage to just admit that things are hard right now. It's about knowing your own limits and making the choice to protect your own peace instead of trying to chase some fake version of happiness. And you know, when you really get that, when you let that sink in, something incredible happens. The pain doesn't just magically vanish, but it starts to change. It transforms into clarity. That heavy weight becomes awareness, and that awareness is what gives you a roadmap to start healing on your own terms and at your own speed. So I want to leave you with this one thought, this one question. What if you just let go of that immense pressure to be happy this year? What if instead your only goal was just to be aware? Aware of what you need, aware of your limits, aware of your own truth. Maybe that's the most wonderful goal of all.
The NFL Christmas comes special today, and I'll be honest with you, none of them look that great. The Chiefs, who are eliminated from the playoffs, will play the Broncos and may have overachieved, but the AFC is wide open, and the Chiefs will not be playing their starting players, a lot of them, so expect the Chiefs to lose. Right now, my top 4 teams are Buffalo. My second team is the Patriots to win the Super Bowl. My third team is the Jaguars or Denver. The The one thing I think about the Jaguars have a better quarterback. Last week, the Jaguars beat the Broncos straight by 14 points in Denver. I think probably Jacksonville is the better team. Denver is my fourth best team. Reason being defense. Joe Flacco could win the Super Bowl. So maybe just maybe, Bo Nix can too. Broncos. Kick is at 7 and 8 p.m. Central. A game in about 2 hours. A terrible game. The Commanders and Cowboys on Netflix. We're not going to talk about this much. It won't be very good teams. We'll see if Dak Prescott and the Cowboys can light it up when they're playing a bad team again. Kick it at 12 and 1 Eastern. Kick it for the Chiefs and Broncos at 7, 8 Eastern. Line for the Chiefs and Broncos game is 13.5. Line for the Cowboys game is about 5.5. And next we do the Lions game, which is the Lions and Vikings. In the NBA, when you first usually mention the NBA, or I do, on Christmas Day, 2:30 p.m. Spurs and Thunder, players to watch out for. Gilgeous Alexandra and Victor Wembanyama. That's for the Spurs and Thunder game. Thunder are 26-4. Spurs are 22-7. Game is though pretty widespread apart. 10.5 is a line. Warriors, Thunder is favored. Currently, the Cleveland Cavaliers are playing the Knicks. That's 20-9. Cleveland leading. Rockets play the Lakers. Lakers by 2.5 at home. Lakers 19-9. Rockets 17-10. Timberwolves 10-30. 21-8 is the Nuggets. 20-10 is the Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards is a player to watch out for, and Nikola Djokovic is a player to watch out for in the Timberwolves and Nuggets game. In the Rockets and Lakers game at 6 is Luka Doncic and Alpi Sunga. Mavericks and Warriors tip at 5. Rockets and Lakers tip at 8. And Timberwolves and Nuggets tip at 10:30. Denver is favored by 1.5. Lakers and Rockets, Houston's favored by 2.5. And Golden State and Mavericks 7.5. Spurs and Thunders 10.5. Tip is at 2:30. Knicks and Cavs 20-9. Cavs leading. This is Sam Vaughn for Sam's Sports Report and Sam's Mental Health Day.